So it is...
You're talking so loud.
I'm talking normal. Yesterday we had an OB appointment. My blood pressure was high for me. By like 20-ish points. Normally my blood pressure is like... I don't know, what's the upper number? Like 120 something?
Like 110, like 115.
Over 66.
Like the high end. This is so cute.
And yesterday at the OB it was like 130 or 140 over 90, and then they took it a second time and it was higher. And then like...
A second time, like after we'd had the appointment.
Yeah.
After we were all relaxed, feeling comfortable.
But anyway, so then throughout the afternoon yesterday I took it. It was still kind of high.
It was like 137 at the highest. I think it went down to like 131.
Yeah.
Every couple of hours
over like
checking.
90, and then over like 70 something at one point.
Morgan woke up in the night and had like an ice pick headache, which also isn't like crazy. That's something that happens sometimes. Morgan gets like ice pick migraines.
Yeah.
And also ocular migraines. You okay?
Yeah, just uncomfortable.
And so
that's like one of the things they told us to look out for. But Tylenol, I took Tylenol.
It won't go away after Tylenol.
Anyway, today it was fine this morning. I mean, it was in the 70s still, the lower number, which is still high for me, but like not high. Anyway, but when they called yesterday, they were like, if it gets over 150, over 90, lay down for 50 minutes, take it again. If it's still high, go to labor and delivery. And then just now I took it, and it was
because you had a little bit of a headache.
I took it, yeah, because I had a headache that came out of nowhere.
Really quick, and then you feel better now, right? Like your head.
Yeah, my head feels like it's like sore. It's not so much like it hurts. But it was 154 over 104, and then the second time it was 154 over 85 or something like that. 82. So we're headed to labor delivery. I don't think we necessarily need to be. Some people are being really brave, even though they are stressed out.
For some people, if it was exclusively their decision, we would have been at the hospital yesterday. But
that's true.
For some people, it's not their decision, except for when the thing happens that the doctors said come to the hospital, and technically we're right below that threshold.
I mean, no, the upper number was above the upper number. Because it was still 156 the second time.
Yes, and
or 154.
Right, and you were like, no, I don't think we need to go.
I do feel like, I mostly just don't want them to be mad at me.
No one's going to be mad at you. They're only going to be happy. They're going to say, wow, she's here.
But luckily we already had our hospital bag packed. Well, I had my hospital bag packed, so I just had to grab my Kindle. And we texted our doula, and we were like, I think they'll probably just do a non-stress test and send me home. Which is fine, but we brought our hospital bags just in case.
Yes. The car seat is loose in the back.
So we'll see.
It's going great.
You're being really brave.
Thank you so much.
All right. Guess what? It was fine.
Yeah, well, okay, all right. Some of us knew it was going to be fine, and others of us are crazy.
Others of us Googled some things.
No, I've been Googling for years, Morgan. For months and months and months. It's not like I Googled something as something was happening.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, yeah, they were like, my blood pressure, what? My blood pressure is still like kind of high for me.
Yeah.
But like overall, they were like, it's not like high. They were like, also like that can just happen because like you're pregnant.
They were like, it's hot out. There's a lot going on. They essentially said like we would be concerned about it if it was like consistent and also a higher
in addition
number.
to other things as well.
Yes, in addition to other things.
We also, the nice thing is though that like we had only known in theory what building to go to, and now we know. Now we've been there.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, good question that we have, which is that the building that we're supposed to be at is kind of far from the parking garage.
Yes.
So we had to walk kind of far today.
Yeah.
And we were like, if I'm in like labor, are we supposed to still do that?
Yeah.
And they were like, there's like a tiny parking lot where you can park that's close. And you park there until we get you settled, and then Felix can go move the car to the parking garage.
Literally in the loop, a la Michael Scott throwing his keys.
Yeah.
Being like, I just did.
Can't park here.
I
just did.
Like that. Except for it's fine and they expect people to do that.
Yeah. So that was also nice to know.
Yes.
And it sounds like we're gonna have to go to the OB twice a week.
Yes.
For the next, 3 weeks or whatever. Which we also kind of anticipated because that happens to like half the people.
Yeah. Yeah,
So.
they said Goose looked incredible. They were like, this is perfect.
Oh yeah, we got to listen to the baby for like 30 full minutes.
Yeah,
which
they
was
did.
nice.
This is the first external monitoring that Morgan's had.
That's true.
That's true. Now, obviously, we've done like the Doppler before, but it's like on a different. It's like
It was like attached to me. Like I could have walked.
It was on like a band.
Yeah.
But it was like and they have another one that's hooked up. They have like one that's for contractions and one that's for the baby's heart rate.
Yeah, so we got to see my Braxton Hicks contractions that I wasn't feeling.
Yeah, which also I don't think it necessarily means that there's
A lot going on.
Like,
That's what I want to know. Like, was it picking up on just him moving? Because he was moving quite a bit.
I don't know.
So I don't know. But it was interesting. Everything's fine. They did not induce us.
Yes. Morgan really wanted to be induced.
I was like, I'm just excited.
Yeah.
There is some stuff to do at the house, though, so I would have been sad.
Yes.
Because there's some laundry and other things that need to get done.
Yeah.
Ideally.
I was supposed to do dishes today, like 4 hours ago. That didn't happen today.
It's okay. Anyway, they were like, here's the signs to look out for.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily worry too much if this exact same thing happens, but obviously if you feel the need to come in, come in. But they were like, if it's much worse, then also come in.
Yeah.
And also all the other things that they always say. So yeah, it was good.
They were really nice.
We loved the nurse we had.
Oh my god.
Shout out to Lacey.
Shout out to Lacey. She was amazing.
Lacey, you are so beautiful and so kind.
Yeah.
And so good at your job.
She had very Jen Hamilton energy.
She had huge eyelashes.
Oh my god, yeah.
I was like, I love this. She's beautiful.
She also was like, here's all the reasons why I am super comfortable with you going home and the doctor's comfortable with you going home. Do you feel comfortable going home?
Yeah.
And Morgan was like, I'm not the one who's worried. And then she was like, what do I need to do to talk to you to help to make it better?
I was like, it's my husband.
Yeah.
He's the one that's worried.
Yeah.
I told him nothing was wrong.
Okay, listen. Listen.
No, it's always better to be safe than sorry.
It doesn't hurt.
And we live close to the hospital.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Back at the hospital again. Here's the thing. I woke up at 8. I felt the baby like once. Which isn't super weird because he's not normally very active in the morning, so I didn't think anything of it.
We had a weird schedule last night. Like, I don't think that anything is concerning.
I don't either, but I do think that it's important to be vigilant when you're at the end here.
Yeah.
So anyway,
we're headed
back in, even though it's just the next day. But not for my blood pressure.
No.
It's because it's like 3 now, and I haven't felt him since 8, which is just unusual for him. So we're gonna go check it out. We didn't bring our hospital bags or the car seat or anything this time.
Right.
So, so I'm sure they'll induce me.
Yeah.
Here's what happened. So much. We're fine. Baby's fine.
Yeah.
So first of all, we got here, his heart rate was in like the 170s, 180s.
Yes.
Which is very high. They want it to be like between like 120 and 150, ideally.
I think 160.
Well, the little line was at 150.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, and it was staying there for like, we were being monitored for like over an hour.
Yes.
And then also I hadn't felt any movement since like 8 a.m. and it was like 2:33, something like that. They monitor us for a while. They do an ultrasound. They give him the score on the ultrasound, which he got an 8 out of 8, which was good, except as we're watching it happen, like he was not moving.
No, he had like one big wiggle towards the end.
Yeah.
And like that was it.
And we were like, that is stressful.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then, but they were like, that is sufficient enough for him to move only that much. And like, his heart rate, like, it's like a little concerning, but like, it's not horrible. And it like, sometimes it was going down like to a normal range, but like it was mostly staying up high. Anyway, so they were like, it's up to you. Like, I do think we could send you home, but like, if you are okay with staying overnight, and if you want to stay overnight in like observation, you can. And I was like, I would like that. That would make me feel better.
Yeah. Well, I think we would have just been, like, if you hadn't felt him move enough at our house, we would have just come here. Is what would have
Yes,
happened.
that's
like,
how I felt.
So it's kind of like.
So anyway, they set up. Give them the tour of the room.
Yeah, we're not supposed to film in here, so.
Yeah, don't tell anyone.
Don't tell anyone. But yeah, it's like a fancy little. Morgan's got her little spot, and then I have this little bed over here. You can see my Tamagotchi's there.
Yeah, so Felix left, grabbed some overnight stuff, came back with dinner.
Yep.
And yeah, they had me hooked up to the same monitor until like an hour ago, and then they were like, you can do it again whenever you want. Worst case, they're gonna do it again in the morning before we leave.
Yeah.
Just to like make sure he's okay. His heart rate was like back to like averaging in like the 150s.
Yeah.
Before they took it off, so they were like, that's good. It's clearly like lowering where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But they still have no idea why. They said like normally when that happens, it's because like the mom is like really sick. So they said it happened a lot like during the pandemic.
Yes.
Or like the height of the pandemic.
With like COVID or like other things.
Yeah.
Which like they gave you fluids.
Yeah.
Like you had like IV stuff.
Yeah, I have a little IV.
Yes.
Yeah, they gave me fluids, but like I was already hydrated. I don't feel like the fluids made a huge difference.
Yeah.
But like maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
we're sweeping at the hospital.
we're sleeping at the hospital. I'm having a nice time though.
Yeah. Watching The Office.
Watching The Office.
Hanging out.
We had a good dinner.
Yeah.
There's unlimited apple juice
There
in this
is.
establishment.
Yeah, well, it's not unlimited. OHP's paying for it.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
It's probably $100 a pop.
Yeah, probably.
But it's not us. Our insurance is paying for it.
Yeah.
But
We were told they don't have Pepsi anymore because the nurses were all drinking it, which is honestly so fair. Bring back Pepsi.
yeah, let them have. Oh yeah, everyone who works here is so beautiful.
Yeah, oh my god, it's
And
crazy.
so nice.
And so nice.
But so beautiful.
Yeah.
Every person we've talked to, I'm like, you went to school? You didn't have to.
You could have gone to
You
modeling.
could have gone to modeling school. But yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
It's been nice.
It's been a lot.
It's been a lot, but like
But-
overall,
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to hear his heartbeat whenever we want.
Yes.
That's really nice. Wish we had that at the house.
Yes. Well, we'd be crazy if we had
It'd
it at
be
the house.
insane, yeah. All right, remember how we said they're just going to keep us overnight and then we get to go home in the morning? We're getting induced. I was whispering at the baby and I said, be ready to be born. And I was too powerful because the doctor came in and said, your blood pressure is not good. So not good, we're just going to start an induction. And I said, I love it. Will it be fun? No. Will we get to be the baby in June? Yes.
Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month. Hey, girl. It's 4 days later.
Hey. Can you see him?
You can see, I can see like his ear.
Oh, okay. That's a very cute ear.
Yeah, that's true. You're not gonna get the high definition. Hi Barbie. Listen, we're doing a full birth story later, not this. This is, I don't know what, maybe a weekly vlog. I have no idea. Anyways, 4 days later, he's born. He's fine.
Yeah.
And now we're having Taco Bell and watching Aladdin.
Yeah.
After we're getting ready to not sleep all night.
Yeah.
Love
And
it.
then in the morning at 7:40 a.m., I know, you're so excited. We've got the first pediatrician appointment.
Yeah,
Because he's got a little bit of jaundice.
that's normal.
So
But
hey.
we're not stressed.
No.
But we should get it checked out. So we are.
Yeah. Hey.
We've been busy.
It's been a minute. We've got a lot going on.
Yeah. Number one, before we tell the whole story,
Yes.
we have an editor now.
Yes. This is going to be edited by me.
This is by Daddy here.
Yeah.
But everyone say thank you to Veronica, who's going to be editing some videos for us because we have a lot of things filmed.
Yes.
We do not have a lot of things edited.
Well, it's hard to edit when there's a baby that eats every 3 hours.
Less than that.
Yeah, much less than that.
Yeah.
I was being kind.
Yeah, protecting the baby's identity.
Yeah.
It's been, right now, we are like 2 months and like almost 2 weeks postpartum.
Yeah.
So like almost, yeah, like 10 weeks. Crazy.
Crazy.
It's been a crazy time.
It went by so fast.
Yeah.
But also,
I feel like
it feels as
like
if it's been
the right amount of time.
10 years.
That's true.
Yeah.
Feels like the baby has always been around.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah. It's like we've known this guy.
Right.
Yeah.
What was the last thing that we filmed? What did you just see?
Yeah. What did you see?
Because I think it was me being like, they're going to induce me. I think.
Just like add some context. We will not be talking about the baby's medical things. after this video, but as it pertains to like the birth, it is relevant, and it's also like very boring, uninteresting things that are. It doesn't matter. Does that make sense? None of these things are like long lasting.
You couldn't
relevant.
Google these things and find him.
No.
So anyway, so the next morning, our morning nurse comes in and is like, hey, like, you know, your blood pressure is still like been pretty high all night, like not super high, but like, you know, it's up to the OB if they're concerned or not. Great news is like baby's heart rate seems to have like kind of evened out a little bit. So like, you know, you guys will probably like when our OB for today comes in, like, you know, they'll look at it and they can decide like where to go from here, but like I'm sure they'll probably send you home, and then maybe when you have your normal OB appointment on, you know, Friday or whatever day, like they might schedule you because of your high blood pressure.
I don't know
like,
if they were that specific. We asked a lot of questions trying to get an answer of like, oh, are we going to be scheduled for an induction? So it was a lot of her being like, oh, probably, but they were like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, but definitely the impression.
The vibe that we were left with was like, we're probably headed home.
We're probably headed home, and like my actual OB, not just whoever was on call,
is going to be the person to like
would
talk
be the next
to
person that I talked to
likely.
about whatever was going to happen next.
Yes.
Like they just needed the on-call OB to like fill out my paperwork to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So we text the, you know, the home group chat. It's also like,
doula, or like
we were there like way longer than we thought daytime wise, because like the new nurse comes in at 7.
Yes.
And she was like, honestly, I have no idea. And like we were there for, it was like afternoon.
Yeah.
By the time the on-call OB like I guess looked at my stuff.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, like, you know, texting the group chat being like, we'll probably be home soon. Like,
yeah. And I'm like, I need to get home so I can sleep in our bed.
Yeah, we're both so tired.
Like, oh god, this was awful.
The on-call OB comes in like that afternoon and is like, hey. She's like, baby looks great, everything's super normal, da 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 da. And I'm like, yeah, expecting her, like the way she's saying it, she's like,
yeah.
So good news, nothing's wrong, see you later. And then she was like, your blood pressure is still kind of high, higher than I would like for someone who's pregnant. So I am going to go ahead and like officially diagnose you with gestational hypertension. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, good to know.
Good to know, yeah.
Now we know that.
Now we know that. And she was like, so the treatment for that.
Because you're at 37 weeks.
I'm telling you the story.
Go ahead.
She was like, so the treatment for that normally is we would wait for you to be 37 weeks and then we'd induce you. But you're already 37 weeks and 4 days. So we're going to induce you now. And literally we like from a cartoon look at each other and we're like, what? And I'm like, are you kidding? And I'm like, you know, grinning. And she was like, that is not the reaction I normally get. I'm glad you're excited. And I was like
this.
Yeah, as Felix has no blood in their face anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's as if Morgan's just been told that we're headed to Disneyland.
And you were told we're headed to hell.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm excited for the baby.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, this is happening.
Yeah.
Now.
And I was like...
And I knew it was happening.
Oh my God, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so what happens right now?
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa. It doesn't have to happen right now. Like,
yeah.
You know, you guys... And I don't know, I guess I don't know if they needed my consent. I don't know, but they were like... I did have to sign stuff, so they must have needed my consent.
They had to move you to a different room.
Yes, they had to move me to a different room. They were like, we're going to give you, like, some time to, like, talk to each other, talk to your doula.
Yeah.
You know, have Felix go home and get your stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like, so you've got some time. And I'm like, okay. And, like, I'm not kidding. It was, like, 6 minutes. We need to scroll back and take a screenshot from our group chat. Yeah. Of, like, Felix being like, okay, like, you know, I think we're going to leave, like, depends on the OB, but, like, in the next, like, 4 hours, could be 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then literally the next text message, like, 6 minutes later,
LOL.
is them being like, LOL, no, we're being induced. I'm, like, so excited. Yeah, so our nurse is like, you know, how can I help? What do you need? And I'm like, we have all these things. As Felix is like frantically calling, being like, haha, because we were supposed to hang out with our friends that afternoon.
Oh, we were supposed to meal plan.
We were supposed to
make freezer meals with my
to
best
put
friend.
in the freezer so that we can eat them once the baby's here.
Yeah, so I'm like texting my family, texting Hannah, being like, LOL, if you still want to come over and do freezer meals, that'd actually be great.
I won't be there. Also, like, they didn't want to leave me alone at all in case. Another part 2.
Yeah.
I'm like, what happened? Like, what happens with an induction? And I'd like to state, like, this is just what they did at our hospital. I have no idea if it's different in other hospitals.
Yeah, it's just very different for the person.
For the person, yeah. Also, if you didn't know this, like, my birth plan was, like, very loosey-goosey. I cared a lot about having an epidural.
Yeah.
I cared a lot about being in a hospital.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. So, I was like, what do you guys, my nose is so itchy.
Sorry.
I was like, so what happens? Like, what do you just like, because I knew about Pitocin, and that's about all I knew. So they're like, so glad you asked. Basically, and I don't remember the name, cervidil, right?
Yes, yeah, to like ripen the cervix. The reason that they use the word ripen, unfortunately, is because it's doing like a bunch of different things. So it's like thinning out and like opening and also getting softer. So it's not like it's just like a cervix opener. But anyway,
That is unfortunately what they
it's
call
the
it.
word ripen
That is the word. So
awful.
she's like, it is like, topical's maybe not the right word because it does go like inside of you.
Yeah.
But it's not like
It's
an
like
injection, it's not a
suppository.
pill. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was like, we're gonna put it in your, hole. And we're gonna put it as close as we can to the cervix, and basically it's like a really tiny scratchy tampon. And it's just like releasing medication next to your cervix, and hopefully it'll get it to ripen a little bit. We try to do that for like, I think it was like 12 hours. And then if that's still not like getting anything going quick enough, then we have like essentially a pill version. The reason we do this like more like the suppository one first is because if you don't react well to it, we can just like yank it out and then the medication stops.
Yeah.
Versus like if you take a pill, there's not much we can do.
Yes.
And then I'm like, oh, like, do people react bad to it? And she's like, not usually.
Super uncommon.
Super uncommon. Like, it's like
almost never happens.
I don't think it doesn't
we
really
just like
happen.
to have it as an option.
But it's really nice, in case like for whatever reason, like you're not doing well in labor.
Or in case the baby's not taking it well.
Doesn't like
which
it.
Again, very uncommon.
And I'm like, oh, okay, good to know.
So I'm like texting my mom, because she's not working that day. So I'm like, hey girl, can you come hang out with Morgan while I go and grab things? Because I don't know when they're going to place the cervidil. Like, it can like give you like cramps and make you uncomfortable right away. Like, I just didn't want Morgan to be like alone.
We also hadn't eaten
yes.
in so long because like we kept being like, well, we're about to go home.
Right. We were not.
And so I was like, I don't want to have to eat like hospital food.
We would be there for like 4 more days. Like, we were not about to be
yeah. So we're also both really hungry.
Oh yeah. So I think mom picked up Panera.
She did.
Yes. Which
yeah.
was
So they moved me to labor and delivery. They're like, we're gonna put the cervidil in. Before we do that, we have to do a cervical check. I'm so sorry. And I was like, no, I can be brave. And dear reader, if you've never had a cervical check, you are so lucky. And I guess for some people, maybe it's not as bad. I do have specific trauma that I think make it very much worse. But I was like screaming. It was awful. To be fair, I heard that it like hurt a lot less once you're actually like
something's going somewhere.
Something's happening.
It's like the cervix is like higher up and also harder to get to, and also I don't know. Yeah,
they're sticking almost their whole hand inside of you.
It's like they're like it's not pleasant.
Sorry, but that is what's happening.
Yeah.
So anyway,
similar to like an IUD placement in terms of like where their hand needs to go.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So, but they're not leaving anything in. Well, this time they were in a minute.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they do a normal cervical check. It's horrible. I scream. The nurse is holding one hand and Felix is holding the other hand, and I'm like, okay. And then it's done, and I'm like, okay, that was so horrible, and nothing's even happened yet. Then they basically have to do the same thing to put the cervidil in. Yeah. Like a couple hours later. They do let me like eat first. Or maybe they put it in and then I was eating.
I don't remember.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They put it in and I'm like, eating, and then the nurse is like filling out, we're in the labor and delivery part, and she's like filling out a bunch of paperwork. I mean, it's on the computer, but like paperwork with me. While I'm like alone for a little bit, because they have to ask you questions like, do you feel safe in your home? Like when you go home, do you have to worry about like food insecurity? And like, it's a bunch of stuff like that. So many questions. So many. She's answering all of those. And like, also they still have me hooked up where they have the baby's heart rate on one side, like a little machine that's like doing that. And then they can also see if I'm having contractions. And it measures it can't measure like the intensity of them, but it's like the length of them, I
don't know, like the muscle, like how hard it's squeezing.
She explained it, and she went to school and I didn't, but I was like, makes sense to me, but I don't know anything. So anyway, it's like doing that, and like they like pointed out on the monitor, they're like, this is your heart rate, this is the baby's heart rate, this is your contractions. And I'm like, these are just lines to me, they don't mean anything to me, whatever. So we're filling out all the paperwork, and then mom gets there with the food, and Felix has gone to go get our hospital bag and stuff.
Pause. I go to get the hospital bag. I'm so tired. I got very good at driving so tired, and I literally was just like blasting AC and Chapel Roan so loud and like singing, and it's like an 8-minute drive, so like it was not
I'm really glad we're close to the hospital.
Yes, so that was good, and like I was fine, and if I didn't feel safe I would have not driven, but was fine. I get there. I'm like running upstairs. I'm like chowing down on like pumpkin soup that I've made. And I'm like, previously, and I'm like packing all of our stuff. And I'm upstairs for a minute with my dad and with Bo, Uncle Bo, my brother. And he's like, oh, like, is it okay for me to like text people to like let them know? And I'm like, oh no, like don't let them know that like we're there yet. Like this literally could be like hours. Like inductions can take.
It can take 3 days.
It can take 3 days. It can take 5 days. Like it's not pressing. The reason I need to get back is because Morgan is like doing induction things which are not going to be comfortable. Like yeah, don't.
But
like,
it's
so
super unusual for like anything to happen quickly.
Yes. And then I come back.
Right. So I'm filling out a bunch of paperwork. I guess I won't say her name, but my nurse who I'm obsessed with, my like main nurse girly, is still sitting next to me even though we're done with the paperwork, and she's just like chatting with us while I'm like eating lunch, and like Shelly is like with me. And then she's like, "Can you feel your contractions?" And I was like, "Oh, like I'm uncomfortable. But like no, like are they bad?" And that's when she was like, "Oh, it doesn't really measure like the intensity. It's kind of measuring like the I don't remember what it is. Someone in the comments will know, but it's like I guess
it gives you like a number. It's like if you're like 5 to 15, you're in early labor. If you're like 20 to like 45, you're in like labor.
It is like kind of measuring the intensity, but it's like
it doesn't matter.
Everyone's is different, so they don't really know how it feels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, and she's like, "That's okay, yeah." She was like, "You can just see right here, like you're having a contraction, but like they must not be that bad." And I was like, "No, like I'm like." This is not even the beginning of like my normal period as far as like pain or whatever. It did like feel like I had to pee basically the whole time, but I was like, that makes sense. Something's like pushing against me. And then I was like, it really feels like I have to poop, but like surely I would know if I was like super in labor. And she was like, no, we would know.
When I came in and we start eating, I'm like, interesting that the nurse is still here. Because they're not like there's nothing wrong with them being there, but like unless something's happening.
Well, she did say like once you go into labor, you have one nurse and she has one patient.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, I'm just the only person she has to worry about. So that's why.
Yeah. But I was like,
I didn't think anything of it.
So I kept being like, what's going on? And she was like, oh, I'm just looking at these numbers. She was
like, I'm just watching.
Here's something that's a little bit like interesting here that we're just keeping an eye on. And so I'm immediately like, oh.
And then she has to go on a break, so someone else comes in and sits in our room. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm not thinking anything of it. Yeah. I'm like so giddy with excitement.
Morgan's like eating her Panera, happy.
I still really feel like I have to poop, but like not imminently. Also, like for those who don't know, like feeling like you have to poop is like a famous thing people say when they're like about to like need to push.
Yes.
Because it's like the baby is so low.
Yes.
Which is not where this is going.
No. But there's like,
but that's why I'm a little concerned about it.
A 1 in like 10,000 chance that if you get cervidil, that you will have like really fast, what's it called? Preeminent, like very quick labor, and like immediately need to push and like have already no. But anyway. That was going on.
So I go to the bathroom and like I come back and I'm like, okay, so like, what are we looking at? And my nurse is like, we can do another cervical check. And also there's like, at this point, like 3 nurses in our room.
Right.
Watching the monitor.
Yeah. They're just keeping like more and more like
they are so good at their job, which is to make me comfortable and because they were all talking about like what they're doing this weekend and like
as they're like
and then randomly
like
one of them will be like, do you see that? And they'll be like, I do see that. And then they're back to like so I just thought they were all girls just hanging out.
Yeah. Morgan's like Barbie summer.
I was like, they're just Barbies doing their Barbie job.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried at all.
Yeah.
So then, eventually my like main nurse is like, okay, so she's like turning the monitor to us and she's like, here's you having a contraction. And here's the baby's heart rate. And what is supposed to happen is that you have a contraction and their heart rate goes down a little bit. And then when your contraction's over, their heart rate goes back up. And his isn't coming back up so good. And I don't remember the name for it, but she was like, there's a name for it. It's this.
It's like, it was like delayed basically. Like his heart rate was going back up, but not as high as they wanted it to be getting to.
Quickly.
And not as, he wasn't recovering.
Yes.
Like from the contractions. Because obviously if like your whole body's being squeezed on and you're a baby and you have a little soft baby body, like, that makes sense that your heart rate, like that's fine. But he wasn't like going back to like normal.
Oh, also while this is happening, because I'm done eating now, she's like, can you lay on your left side for me? And then like she'll be like, okay, can you?
I've listened to like birth story podcasts, so I'm like, ha ha ha. It's because, and I'm like watching the thing like a hawk, and so it's because it looks like his heart rate is dipping. not like scary low.
If
and
it was
also,
if it was imminent, they would have.
Also, sometimes it'll like it'll like pop down and it'll take like if the baby's heart rate, especially if it gets like a little bit lower, it'll hop to Morgan's like instead of being the baby. So it's like hard to tell if like the baby's heart rate was at 90 or if it was Morgan's heart rate that was at 90. There's like a break. Anyway, it was like a couple.
Yeah.
But so I'm like not doing well. So like, yeah, can you just like lean over here? And I'm like, move more quickly. But I'm not saying that. And I'm like texting our doula being like, I'm starting to get a little bit anxious. As Morgan's like, breezy.
I'm fine.
She's great. Yeah.
I was like, and again, like I've never done this before.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this just must be what it's like. How would I know?
Yeah.
You're sure that it's recording, right?
Let me check. Yes.
Okay, good. Anyway, I'm like, yeah, I'm breezy. I'm like, I don't think this is weird at all. So then eventually, it's been like hours.
Yeah.
And our nurse is like,
like 2.
He's like not recovering as great as we want. We're gonna tell the OB and like they will decide where we want to go from here.
Right.
And
I think at like 4 times I have been like ha. And if something was really scary, we would just be headed to the OR, right? And they're like, right.
They're like, yeah, we have an eye on it. They also were like, what it could be is like the cord could be like wrapped around his hand or like, and so it could just
he could be
like
squeezing it. It could be
he could be like stressing
neck.
Himself out basically.
They're like, it's very common having like the cord wrapped
stressful.
around the neck is like not stressful. It sounds like it's something stressful. People always tell you the story of like, oh, their baby was born with the cord wrapped around the neck and it sounds really scary, but like babies are squishy and the cord is squishy and it's like really something that happens. Like some cords are long.
It's not like a car seat.
It's not a big deal.
Or a seatbelt.
Yes.
It's not like that.
Like it's not, okay, like a classic thing you wrap around a neck, a seatbelt?
Like you might wrap around your neck.
Okay. So yeah, so they're just essentially like, if that's most likely what's going on, that's fairly common, but like we're just going to talk to the OB and like see what's going on, see like what they want to do. And Morgan essentially was like, just to be clear, if I have to get a C-section, I'm like not stressed out about that. Like,
I started with that. I was like,
a couple of times.
I want you to know.
Yeah.
You will, if you at any point, the doctor, are like, here's why I would recommend a C-section. You're not going to get anything from me. Sorry, I was looking at the camera because I hate the cervical check so much.
Yeah.
The guy who invented the cervical check is my enemy.
Yeah.
Now, and I do get why they have to do it.
Yeah.
But I hated it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so as I said before, I have a lot of trauma. So my nurse is like, I'm going to do a cervical check. She was there the first time. And she's like, I'm so sorry, but like, I want to see like how dilated you are. And again, like it hasn't been like hours and hours and hours, but it's been like a few hours.
Probably like an hour and a half.
And she was like, let's see. Cause it's not like this is supposed to take me all the way to 10.
No.
It's supposed to get me like a few centimeters over like the 12 hours.
Yeah.
And then like maybe they would do the other one or maybe they would just start Pitocin. Anyway, so she starts to try to do one. I'm hating it and screaming, and she's like, okay, never mind, let's have the doctor do it. And the OB that we had like had really tiny hands.
She's like
nice.
Polly Pocket sized doctor.
She was
very so cute. Small, so cute.
So she comes in, she does it. I'm like at 1.5 when I started at 0, which was like quicker than they anticipated. Unfortunately, as I just said, I'm only at 1.5, so we've still got actually quite a ways to go.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, so this is working much harder. You're also like, I was having contractions and I had no idea.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, I just felt like uncomfortable, genuinely. Between the nurse trying to do the cervical check and then being like, never mind, and us waiting on the OB to get there to do it. I'm like still crying from her trying. And she was like, just so you know, if you ask to have a C-section just because the cervical checks are like too traumatic, that is like completely valid and like you're still a good mom. And I was like, I'm obsessed with you. Yeah. It was so nice of her to say.
Yeah.
It isn't like why we ended up having a C-section, but it was like certainly a factor because I was like, it was awful. And I don't know if it's that awful for everyone, but like.
I think it's that whole experience was part of why it was kind of like a relief that you were getting a C-section in some ways.
Yeah. So anyway, they do the cervical check from only 1.5 centimeters, which is like surprising and also like not very much.
Yeah.
It's like so much on one end and then not enough on the other. And so they're like, okay, so like at this point, because the baby's like not reacting very well to labor and like you're not loving the cervical checks, I would recommend a C-section. And she was like, if you're not interested in that, like here's other things we can do.
It was also, though, she was like, I'm not going to put Cervidil back in you because, like, he's hating it and I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't think the pill would be better. She's, like, explaining why we do all those things. She's like, other things that we could do to try to, like, move labor along, I don't really feel comfortable doing because the baby so did not tolerate well just this kind of, like, first thing that we do that's kind of like our baseline, very vibey thing.
Doesn't normally cause any sort of chaos.
Doesn't typically cause an issue. So she was like, so, like, she was like, I personally would recommend a C-section. That's what I would feel most comfortable doing. If you are really not into that, like, we can talk about other alternatives. But that would be more like us just, like, waiting and keeping you monitored because I don't want to, like, give you anything else because I am worried about, and, you know, he's not in, like, imminent danger. But I don't feel comfortable doing that to him. Like, I don't know, you know, from here what we can tell.
Even before that, when they took the Cervidil out, they waited like an hour and a half or 2 hours to see if labor progressed without the Cervidil still actively in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it did or I don't know.
Yeah, because I couldn't get it, like, all the way, like, out of your system. To see if he started recovering better when your contractions were less.
Yes, because they were like, maybe it's just, like, too much too fast.
Yes. And it didn't, like, he was, like, okay at that point, but, like, it wasn't great.
Yeah, it wasn't what they would like to see.
No.
So anyway, and I'm like, let's do a C-section. Let's go. And I'm like, so what happens? I'm ready. And she was like, oh my God, no. Like, you know, I don't even know who's in the OR today. I don't have anything scheduled in the OR today, which is operating room, by the way. I don't think we said that.
Yeah.
But she was like, I don't have anything scheduled. I don't know about everyone else.
I had already panic texted the doula being like, I need you to come here now. Not for Morgan, but for me.
But she was like, you know, so, like, we have to go check that out. And, like, and I guess, like, I don't work there. But I guess the OR is just kind of, it's like a tattoo shop where everyone's like, I don't know what everyone else is doing. So, because she was like, I don't know. So, anyway, she's like, so we just have to see, like, what else is scheduled, if anyone else is. So I was like, okay, so we have no idea. And she's like, oh, yeah, it could be, like, in an hour. It could be in, like, 6 hours. But, like, you know, like, we'll be here. We're monitoring you. Like, I know that, you know, the nurses talk to you about, like, pain management. I feel like things get more intense. And I'm like, yeah, so fair. I'm not kidding. I look at my lovely husband, who's clearly freaking out, and I'm like, can you text the doula and tell her that we're going to go to C-section?
And I'm like,
and Felix is like, yeah, I already did. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I look back to the door, and, like, 6 people come in. It's been, like, 3 minutes from the time the doctor left.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm signing papers.
It was not her fault. Like, I think also they were just kind of doing that first part to get us set up, and then they were like,
I'm not upset.
I guess it's open.
Yeah. I wasn't upset at all. I was just like, oh. But we didn't, like, realize that we were going right now. I was like, oh, they must just be doing all this so that, like,
I realized that we were going because they were putting me in a bunny suit.
Yes. So here's what happened. Literally, like, 6 people come in. One of those people is just in charge of Felix. Someone else is, like, my nurse, and then my nurse is, like, I don't know, assistant nurse.
There's 2 people dressing me. There's somebody handing me a sheet of paper, holding it out so I can read it as I'm, like, putting on these, like, fucking... It's like this, like, over clothes thing. So, because you're gonna go into a surgery room where surgery's being done.
They're like, okay, and they, like, pull up my little gown, and they're like, I have to shave you, as, like, they're, like, shaving my groin.
They're like, they're gonna have to take your phone in a second, but you can have it for now. So text the people you need to text. And I'm like, wow.
And I'm like, I feel like, literally, like, you know in the movies when some girly is, like, rich and she goes to the spa and there's, like, one person on each hand and, like, someone who's, like, messing with her hair? That was me, except it was, like, one person's putting the little, like, bunny suit hat on my head, like, the hairnet, and then, like, one person's, like... They ask you a million times who you are. Yeah, someone is shaving my groin.
Just the upper part.
Not the whole thing.
They shave more than you'd think that they would.
It was more than I thought they would.
But it's not like you didn't get a Brazilian or anything.
No.
Yeah.
That probably would have been faster.
Yeah.
Anyway, this, like, handsome man strolls in. He's like, I'm the anesthesiologist. And I was like...
Morgan goes, oh, you're
I can't
handsome.
even spell that. Yeah. And he's like, you know, this thing you're signing just says, like, that you know that you're going to be numb from, like, the chest down for, like, 12 hours. And if you don't react well to that, then we're going to put you under general anesthesia. And I'm like, yeah. Because, again, I've had surgery. I'm not afraid of it. I'm so excited because that means, like, the baby's going to be here really soon. And I've been, like, so excited to meet him the whole time. So anyway, I'm like, dude, I'm having the best time of my life. And I look over, and again, my husband is so pale.
I'm doing good. I'm being brave. I didn't cry or anything. I wasn't hyperventilating.
That's true.
Like, I did fine.
You didn't do any of those things.
No.
You wanted to.
But I'm, like, reading this piece of paper, and it's like support person of someone who's having a C-section. Your job is to stay calm. The people in the room are doing their job. You have a job. Your job is keep mom calm. Don't ask questions of the people who are doing their job. It's like, focus on keeping mom. It's going to go better for everybody. Trust in the doctors. And I'm like, okay, great.
You're I can tell that you're upset. So I'm like, are you okay? And you're like, yeah, it's going to be fine. It's fine. It was very Ross being like, I'm fine. So I'm like, he. And literally, you have to put the picture up. Of me. I'm literally beaming as Felix is like like if you zoom in on their eyes, they're literally like and it's like the last photo we had, just the two of us, which is really cute. But it's like us, our doula was like taking pictures of us like walking to the OR. And I'm like tee-hee-hee. Like so excited. So I'm gonna tell everything from my perspective. And my husband will either interject and or tell his version at the end. So they're like, okay, we're going to separate you two. But, like, Felix will be in, like, right before the, like, actual surgery part starts. And I'm like, okay, sounds good.
They say that to both of us.
Yes.
Then we separate.
We kiss, we separate.
Yes.
They take me. They're like, okay. They sit me on this table that's, like, low to the ground, and then they raise it up. And they're like, okay, so first we have to do, they're like they check your bracelet 500 zillion times, which makes sense, because, like, you don't want to get...
you need an appendectomy?
Well, that's the thing, though, because, like, I mean, I'm appreciating that they do check it so much, but I'm always like, this whole, like, building is just for pregnant people and babies. So, like...
They don't want to give you the wrong baby coming out of you.
That's true, but it's... right now, like, we're together. You can't really mix us up. So they're like asking me a bunch of questions. The, Polly Pocket doctor is like, hi, he's like, do you have music you want to play? And I'm like, my husband loves Harry Styles, and like, they're so stressed out. Like, I am not stressed out, I'm really excited. But they're like, if you could play Harry's House, like, they're a big fan. And she's like, oh my god, I love Harry's House. Such a good album. Okay. So she like puts it on. Also, I can barely hear it, which I was like secretly kind of pissy about, but looking back, it's like they do have to be able to speak to each other. Because they're doing a surgery.
Right.
So, like, that's why I couldn't hear it very much. My, like, nurse girly, who I'm obsessed with, we what's it called when the baby duck looks at the baby duck's mom?
They imprint.
Me and this nurse, she imprinted on me. Or I imprinted on her. Because, like, Felix isn't allowed to be there for the before part. They, like, raised my little table up as, like, the anesthesiologist is trying to, like, hit my spine and like make me numb from the chest down, and she's like grabbing onto me. I have no idea. I've never gotten this procedure before. I've gotten plenty of shots, but they're like, okay, so like I'm like, it's not gonna hurt, and they're like, it's getting the spinal tap, epidural, whatever it's called, that part's like, it hurts a little bit, and then it doesn't feel like anything, which is great. And I'm like, I just can't believe, like, I've seen videos of C-sections, like, how do you not feel it? That doesn't make any sense to my little brain. And they're like, I promise it's gonna be fine. So they're they raise a little table up. Oh, that's what I was saying, is the way you have to sit. The way you have to sit to get this is they're like, you need to be as relaxed as you can. Don't tense up. But also you have to have like arched back, like you're like the kid like this from Recess. And I'm like, okay, as I'm like gripping onto the nurse who's I've now imprinted on. And I'm like, all right. And they're like, okay, you need to tell us what you feel. And famously, if you don't know this, I'm not so good at like the words they want you to use. Like sharp. Or like dull, or like throbbing. I don't ever remember those words. I don't know what class everyone else went to where they learned what all these words are, that like are medical words to describe things. But I'll be like, it's like I got hit with a spatula. And they're like, okay, so like, what does that mean? And I'm like, it's like flat. And they're like, not a word we use. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I have what's that thing called where you like taste colors? I have that for the pains that I feel.
Synesthesia?
Yeah, that's me. I am like kind of yelling because it does hurt, but like I have like just teary eyes. I'm not like crying, you know what I mean? That's what I would say about it. Anyway, so they poke me pretty hard, like 7 times, and I'm like sharp towards the right, sharp kind of in the middle, and then like eventually I guess they get it right because I'm not kidding. Colby Calais said it best when she said it starts on my toes. Because my toes go numb, and then it radiates up your body so fast. And as I've said many times, I'm absolutely giddy until this moment. Where I lose my mind. Because I'm like, haha, what's happening? As if I didn't just sign a bunch of papers and I didn't explain it really well.
As if like 8 people haven't told you this 4 times over the course of
where they're
hour.
like, it's gonna be weird. And like, it just, and like, I think at that moment, it's like my brain is like, haha, if something happens, we can't go anywhere. Because I was like, I'm gonna scream. I'm close to screaming. I will be screaming. And like, not because anything hurts. In fact, nothing hurts. But I'm like, haha. And then like, once you can't feel your toes, like 8 people swoop in and move all your limbs for you to get you, like, so they like, someone is turning me and laying me flat, and they brought out 2 tiny tables for my arms. So now I have like 3 tables. So then...
Pause. In the other room. I've got the bunny suit on. I've got my little phone. I have my sheet of paper that I've read my instructions on that I folded up and put inside of my bunny suit. I'm holding my phone out so I can hand it to the person who's in charge of taking pictures. Who's literally like our like assigned picture taker for the procedure. They're like, do you want pictures? And I'm like, yeah. So I'm sitting in this like waiting area. One of the nurses who we've been chatting with, who is super nice, comes to me and is like, okay, you caught what's going on. They're gonna do like basically every single thing with Morgan except for cutting her open before they bring you in. It is gonna take so long. You cannot begin to imagine. This is gonna feel like they've certainly forgotten about you. And you're gonna feel that way even though I've told you this, and I promise they didn't forget about you. Someone is coming to get you. Everyone knows you're supposed to be there. Do not be stressed out about it. It is fine. But this is like a super long part, and it's gonna feel really long. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like chatting with the doula, hanging out. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like in my super uncomfortable outfit. I like kind of have to pee, but I like definitely can't go pee because like I got all my stuff on. So I'm like, oh, okay. They come to get me finally. It does feel like it's been so long. And there is this just like every regular looking white man you've ever seen. No judgment to this man, but he's just like this middle-aged normal like man. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna be the one taking pictures. And I don't know why I thought they were gonna have like a Gen Z intern to take the photos.
They should.
That's what I like assumed was gonna happen. So I was like, okay. So I like handed my phone and I'm like, oh, sorry, I can like put in the code. And he's like, oh, it's okay. I have an iPhone, and then like swoops it and like knows that like pulls up the like camera. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right, go off, King, that's fine.
We've paused you again.
Yes.
Something else that I forgot to mention, before any of this part starts, before we left our room, I'm like, my husband is really squeamish, genuinely, so squeamish. We don't want Felix to pass out. Like, can you, like, we all know that because you can order, is what I was about to say. You can ask for like a clear curtain.
Yeah.
To watch the procedure like happening, but otherwise you get the standard curtain we've all seen in every movie.
Yeah.
Where like from here down I can't see anything but like this blue curtain.
Yeah.
So I said that several times. And then, like, now that I'm laying flat, I'm like, okay, and, like, because I can't see anything. They put the curtain up. And I'm like, okay, so, like, when Felix comes in, there's only one door, and that door's by my feet. So, like, and they're like, we haven't started. Like, they will see your coochie and, like, that you're naked. But, like, you're not cut open, nothing. And they're, like, doing stuff. And they were so right. I couldn't feel anything. Like, it felt like I've never gotten a cavity or anything, but I have gotten teeth pulled. And so it felt like that, where I can, like, you know, you can touch your lip and you know it's there, but, like, you can only feel it on your finger. But you can tell that, like, because there's other things around it, that, like, something's happening.
There's, like, pressure.
Yeah, it's so weird. It was just the strangest thing. And I know that's what they told me was going to happen, and I'm so stressed out. So anyway, they've just laid me down, and my heart is beating a zillion miles a minute. And, like, it's so, like, loud because everybody's, like... first of all, they're doing this, like, track talk as I'm, like, flat and can't feel my feet and my whole body. And they're like, I'm Dr. So-and-so, and I'm in charge of left arm. And they're like, I'm Dr. So-and-so, and I'm in charge of make sure there's blood. And you know what I mean? And they're all doing that. And I was like, okay, I didn't know I hope I don't have any lines in this play because I don't know my part. But anyway, they all are going through. So then I'm laying down, and I'm like, hey, I'm really anxious. Do you guys have anything? I feel really stressed out. And, like, nobody responds to me as I'm, like, staring at the ceiling with, like, the brightest lights in the world. And then, like, I'm like, hey, so I'm feeling really stressed out. And then, like, the anesthesiologist pops his little handsome head over me. And he's like, oh, do you not feel what I gave you? And I look up at him, and he's God, right? Because the lights are all behind him. And I'm like, no. And then I, like, assess. And I'm like, yeah. Because, like, as if I've been washed in, like... You know when, like, you're on spring break and you've just slept in and, like, birds are singing outside? I was like, this is amazing. So I'm laying down and I'm like, I feel so great. They could have already done it and I wouldn't have known. I was like, this is so good. I hope they give that to me next time. I don't know. I hope I can ask ahead of time to reserve some. Because I was like...
You had the scaries.
I was so stressed out so quickly that I was like, haha, I'm about to have a panic attack right now. Yeah. And then they gave me that thing and I was like, I think I should go on tour. So
put your coochie on tour.
I was like, this is a great show. So anyway, I'm like seeing what I can. I'm kind of, I can't do very much because I'm laying down. So I'm like looking around. And in the corner I see this doctor who clearly doesn't know like what his job is because like he's just standing in the corner looking like this. And then that doctor comes closer, and it's my husband.
The way Morgan kept on saying it was like, I saw this really scared doctor, and I was like, that guy definitely shouldn't be working here. He looks like an idiot. And then I was like, oh no.
I know that idiot.
I know that idiot.
That's exactly what happened. Anyway, so Felix comes over, and again, I'm flat, and their little head pops over me, and they're like, hey. And I'm like, okay, doctor who doesn't fucking know what he's doing. Why are you so close to me? And then I was like, hey.
Pause. So I literally don't remember. I think I was just purposely trying not to look at what was going on in case they had already cut into Morgan. Like I didn't like look at like the setup. Like there was no like assessment. I just was like so anxious and was just like, oh my God, I'm like in a room where surgery is going to be happening. And like I am squeamish as we've discussed previously. So I'm stressed out about that. So I like come over and I see Morgan. And as I like hover over her head and see her eyes look like... There's like an oil sheen on them. It's like rainbowy almost. And this is a woman who has no idea who I am. Visibly. I could be Mickey fucking Mouse. And this girl would be like, oh my God. And so I'm like, oh, she's stoned.
Yeah.
Which
they did not warn you about.
Which is just so funny because like I think I should have assumed.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
I'm just excited for the next part.
Yeah. I should have assumed that was going to be the case because you're literally having surgery.
Yes.
But I wasn't like emotionally prepared for
No, I guess, I honestly it should be standard, I guess, and I guess it's not, which I'm not complaining.
I'm sure they give it to most
they didn't,
people.
Yeah, they didn't make me sign anything extra.
Yeah. But anyway, I was just like, oh no. And so I'm just like, hey, bud, this is exciting. And you're like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm great. How do you feel?
Yeah, I just kept asking you how you are. And I was like, I picked Harry Styles for you.
And I'm like, that was so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm so stressed out. This is the most stressed out I've ever been in my
life.
I
can tell that you're stressed out, but because of my medication, I'm like, they're doing such a good job.
Yeah. Well, there's just like all these like weird noises going on.
Oh my God, I can't hear any of it.
Yeah. There's like whirring and like it sounds like there's a tooth getting taken out. I really don't remember it that well because again, like I'm so
They should have given you some happy juice.
Oh my God.
Some bird sing juice.
Some of the bird singing juice. But our OB was like, blah, 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 like, Felix, Harry Styles, love Harry Styles. I'm like, ha, 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 okay, do your job, I'm scared. Like, they're clearly, like, trying to talk to us over the curtain, and then they, like, say, like, somebody else is like, do you want me to say it again? And she's like, no, it's fine, they're busy. As I'm like,
oh my God, also our OB, she had laryngitis. She was wearing a mask, like, they have to wear masks during surgery. But anytime we spoke to her... She wasn't contagious
anymore.
No. Yeah. She is a doctor, so I trust her.
Yeah.
And so she was like, I sound bad, but I promise I'm not contagious.
Yeah.
I promise I wouldn't be here if I didn't feel good.
Yeah.
And I was like,
really
I didn't know how to be like, girly, I have sang for like 6 hours in the car on a road trip, so like, I've been there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so all I remember is like, I'm like looking up at Felix and I'm like, yeah, so like, and like Felix is clearly trying to talk like without stopping so that like we can't really hear what else is going on. I can't hear anything else. I don't know. I've never been so stoned in my life that I can't hear like anything beyond the like 3 inches in front of me. But that's exactly what happened because as far as I was concerned, we were just like whispering in bed.
Yeah.
So Felix is like, the baby's gonna be here soon. That's so exciting. And I'm like, you're being so brave. And Felix is like, no, I'm not even worried. It's gonna be fine. You're doing so brave.
How do you feel?
How do you feel?
Morgan is like, oh, my heart feels like it hurts. And Morgan's stoned. So, like, she looked the same way that you looked. I've seen Morgan about to pass out before. And so that was how she, like, looked when she said that. She's like, oh, my heart hurts. And I'm like, her heart hurts? Her heart hurts? Is that regular? Her heart's hurting.
You're like, ah!
Yeah. The anesthesiologist like pops his little head, like comes over and is like, oh yeah, no, that's very normal. They're shoving on her right now. And I was like, okay, that's normal. Don't even worry about that. That's normal. And Morgan's like, oh, I just wanted to check. And I'm like, great. And I'm like, thank you. It's going well.
It was also, you weren't actually snotty.
No,
but it was the most where you were like, no one's responding, and it had been like 1 second.
I was frantic. I think they could tell.
Yeah. They were great at their job.
They were really good.
I'm sure most
people do that every day.
That's so true. It's clear because they're like giggling.
Yeah.
As they're like at work, you know?
Yeah. Oh my God.
So anyway, yeah, so it's by the time they open me up and like get him out, it was not very long.
Felt like hours to some of us.
That's true. It felt like the whole thing took 10 minutes to me.
But I heard him cry, and Morgan can only hear 3 inches in front of her face.
Yeah. So Felix is like, because I was people talk all the time about like how from the moment your kid's born, like, because they want them to like have a nice strong cry because it means like their lungs are working good.
Yeah.
That like if it takes more than like instant, then like it feels like years, and you're like just like waiting on edge to like hear them cry and make sure everything's good. And so I didn't hear him crying, but Felix did, and then I was like, that was like the only time that I really cried.
Yeah, I felt immediately. I was like, oh, he's crying. Do you hear him?
And I was like,
and then Morgan's sobbing, and it's like, no.
I was like, I can't hear him.
Yeah.
I thought you were lying.
No.
I thought you were just like, yeah, he's crying. It's fine.
No.
And then also because I'm stoned, I thought it was like in the Polar Express where like you can only hear Santa's bells if you believe in him, and I was like, this is like a Tinkerbell situation. Where, like, I kept being like, I can't believe I'm pregnant. And then the baby didn't happen. It was just a baby-shaped thing. But he was crying. I could hear once they brought him closer. Yeah. But in the photos, it's literally, like, them taking him out is, like, a specific time. And then 1 minute later, it's, like, pictures of him over by us.
Yeah. And it's not like they took one picture then. Like, our guy took, like, 200 pictures.
He did a great job.
Of, like, every single thing that happened.
If you're having anything, and you're like, I don't know if I want pictures... I think you should get them anyway.
Just in case.
Because you can always delete them.
Because I also, like, I like knowing what was happening at that
we
time when we weren't able to be paying attention to what was happening. You know what I mean? It's like the first moments of his life, and, like, we kind of, like, weren't there for that part. So it's, like, cool that it's, like, that we can see it. And my live photos are on. So we have a live photo that you hold down, and it's, like, him exiting. Which is also kind of drama.
Yeah. We found out as he's being born.
Yes.
What was going on.
Yes. One thing
dramatic baby.
is that apparently he kept on trying to shove his hand out first, which is so funny and so chaotic of him because, like, legally they can't let that happen for a number of reasons. One of them being what was going on with him. And it's not, like, stressful. But he had a double nuchal, which means that the umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck twice, which... is a little scary. Yeah,
they were like, so you know how we kept saying, like, oh, it wraps around the neck all the time, it's not scary? Because it was twice, it would have been scary.
Yeah, they're like, this would have been an emergency C-section very quickly.
Yeah, which is really nice, because, like, the OB that we had basically was like, you know, not that I ever leave a birth or a C-section being like, dang, like, you know.
We could have done that.
We could have done
the other way.
Vaginal birth. But, like, this is, like, it's always really validating when, like, we would have ended up here anyway. And instead, like, we keep saying it was, like, a surprise C-section.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't an emergency. Like, they weren't, like, we got to get, you know, him out now.
No.
But it was, like, a decision that we made that we didn't know we would be making.
It was not scheduled. And it's also fine to schedule a C-section also.
No, I'm definitely... I would like to very much say that I'm scheduling a C-section for the second kid.
Yeah.
I've made that decision already.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he was totally fine. He, you know, as Felix said, from here on out, we're not talking about, like, his medical stuff, but this is just, like, you know, it's our birth story.
Yeah.
Then, like...
He was on your chest.
Yes. Well, so, the thing about being numb is that, you can't feel anything. So, like, I felt like my head was, like, almost on the ground and my legs were up here.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case. Supposedly, I was
completely flat. And there's...
It didn't feel that way.
A doctor holding the baby, like, flat on Morgan's, like, chest, which she had her free label bra on accident because she forgot that she was... So, like...
Well, everything happened so fast.
Ad for free label. It was so comfortable that Morgan wasn't even like, I have to take my bra off. Like, it was just...
To go to surgery.
Yes. And, like, he was, like, also on, like, your, like, chest. Like, he was, like, against your skin. But he was, like, on Morgan's chest as I'm holding him and one of the, like, nurses or whoever is holding him. And Morgan is like, he's gonna fall off. And
it really felt like he was gonna fall off.
He definitely wasn't. He was
No.
fine.
Looking at the pictures, I'm like, I was definitely flat, but it didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
Um,
His eye, so open.
yeah, I was trying to decide if I was going to say that.
Oh, should I not?
No, I don't think it's you can't, like, Google, like, baby born super looking at you.
No. He was just, like, so alert.
Yeah, he was
cool.
so alert.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because he was 3 weeks early.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was looking right at us.
He was ready to be out of there.
He
said,
also-
I had been accessorizing in the womb.
Yeah,
was
he
ready
didn't
to
cry
be-
very long. He was very cozy.
Yeah.
So yeah, they move you from the OR. They moved me from the OR.
Oh, yeah. And I went with the baby.
Wait, before that.
Okay.
So yes, we had already discussed, like, you know, if something's stressful and also
Yeah.
if it's not stressful, Felix is in charge of staying with the baby. I could be by myself or with the doula.
The doula can't come with you in the OR
In the
if you're
OR.
doing a C-section, but if something stressful had been happening, we would have like swapped essentially. The doula could have gone with Morgan unless it was a stressful thing where she couldn't have a support person with her.
Yeah.
But regardless, she would have been going with Morgan to another room.
You know, we're here with the baby. The curtain's still up. Because they're still working on me. They gotta
Yeah.
close me up.
Yeah.
As we're like, oh my god, there's a baby in there.
Yeah.
Crazy. So, as I mentioned previously, there's only one door in and out.
Right.
It's by my feet.
Right.
I don't know if you know this, but the head of me, where
Yeah.
we all are, is before my feet.
I wasn't worried about this.
So, and I've literally, and not that I'm mad, but like several times I was like, my husband's really peasy, da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
So like, they're like, okay, so dad's gonna go with baby, right? And I was like, yeah. How are they gonna get out without passing my body that's in pieces right now?
Right.
And they were like, good point.
Yeah.
And then Felix is like, oh, I'm gonna go like this.
Yeah, I literally did that. Literally, the nurse to me was like, hi, I heard you're squeamish. There's a lot going on over here. So if you just kind of want to either close your eyes, I can like hold your little hand. I was like, oh, I can just go like this. Like, that's fine. Like, I'm not worried about that part at all. And
Also,
they're
like,
holding the baby.
They hold the, I don't know if normally dad holds the baby, but the nurse held the baby just in case.
Yeah.
To get out of the room.
Great call. Because if I'd passed out while holding him, can you imagine how stressful that would have been?
Yeah.
Which didn't happen.
So you go with him, he gets like his,
Yeah.
all
Well,
his
okay,
newborn
so
baby stuff.
they just kept on being like, oh, if it's a C-section, then like they cut the cord and then like they leave it extra long so the dad can cut it also. And like I was like, oh, well, like that's fine. Like they don't have to do that. Was like what I like thought. Like I was like, oh, it doesn't like really matter. Like obviously it's gonna be like cut already. I'm really glad that they left it long. It's very cool that I got to cut it. I didn't think. It's just cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean?
You get to say that you did it.
Yeah, and it was just also really funny because the girl, like I've listened to a lot of birth story podcasts and like birth is really interesting to me and like obviously our fertility journey was really long, so like we spent a lot of time being ready for like these moments kind of. Yeah, so she's like hands me the like scissors and then she's like, okay, and some people kind of have to, oh, nope, you got it. Wow, absolutely. And it's just like, it's really thick. It's like thicker than you think it's
I know,
gonna
I wish
be.
I could experience it.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's like, there's not anything. It is literally like a piece of, like if you had a finger with no bones in it and like way a lot of muscle. I don't even know that you're cutting through. Crazy.
You almost experienced what the horse experienced.
When the horse was biting my finger.
The horse was trying to eat
For
your
my old
finger.
horse injury that flares up every once in a while. Got a compressed knuckle probably from a horse bite. It's because I accidentally, everybody apparently knows that you have to make your hands look really not like carrots.
So you're supposed to feed a horse.
Okay, and I touched him, I don't even know what I did. This, I guess?
I think you were petting him normal.
In a carroty
and then
type
it seemed
way.
like he was licking at you and you were like, oh, did you want to smell me? I think was like similar to a dog.
I know cats and dogs.
Yeah. And then he was like, oh, eat gay hand.
Yeah. And he tried to I could have lost fingers easily.
You could have easily lost
Would have been a fun way to lose fingers. Can you imagine? Being like, you're just too stupid to pet a horse. And now you don't have fingers.
The best part is every time we tell this story, Felix will be like, yeah, so I met this horse.
And everybody's like, I know one thing about horses. And it's you gotta make really sure you only use a flat hand to touch them, otherwise they'll think you're carrots. And I'm like, you guys suck.
Well, the best part is they don't even say that intense. It's like, you're like, well, I met this horse, and they're like, oh my god, I don't know anything about horses. Well I guess I do know.
Thing. I guess I know about the old fingers shouldn't look like carrots thing. I guess I missed that day of kindergarten.
Yeah, and I missed the next day where they talk about pains.
Yeah.
So they take me to, like, the right after surgery recovery, as they're, like, I don't know, finding me a room or whatever. Our very sweet doula moved all of our stuff from the labor room to the mother and baby room, which was very nice. Well, she moved it all onto the cart that we took there.
Yes.
And there, we're doing skin to skin, we're, like, taking pictures, all this stuff. they're like, okay, so the like nurse who's only in charge of me right now, because my other girlie, it was, you know, it was time for her to go home. There's like a person who's only in charge of you like in the post-op part, but like she wasn't going to follow me to the mother and baby unit. And she's like asking me questions and like taking my blood pressure and all this stuff. And then she's like, okay, like, did you want to put your underwear back on, I think?
I can't remember.
Or no, it couldn't have been my underwear. It was something to do with my legs.
She was like, let me check your... Oh, she was putting on your compression thing?
Oh, yeah.
Probably is what it was.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So I moved my leg and she goes, you're not supposed to be able to do that. And I was like,
Whoop.
Oop. But the whole time I felt like I could move. I didn't because I was like so scared. But like, I just couldn't feel it. But I was like, no, I could, I couldn't run or anything, but I was like, if I needed to move my legs right now, I could. I wouldn't have been able to walk.
Yeah.
But she was like, oh, you're not supposed to be able to do that. Which was very funny. And I was like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Also, Morgan lost way less blood.
Yeah, you're supposed to lose 1,000.
They planned for you to lose like 1,000.
Yeah, sorry, they weren't going to suck it out of me.
No.
But typically, you lose like 1,000 milliliters.
Yeah.
And I only lost like 375 milliliters.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Could have been why I recovered so fast.
We don't know.
Don't know. So basically what happens, they take us to the mother-baby unit. A couple of people drop by to visit. Very cute. For after C-section, for me at least, and again, this is just my hospital. I don't know if it's the same everywhere. I had to have a catheter in for the first 12 hours. I couldn't shower for the first maybe 24 hours. No, couldn't have been. The first, like, 12 hours probably, I couldn't shower. I couldn't get up, couldn't get out of bed. Couldn't really feel much of anything for, I would say, at least, like, 6 hours. And then something that I didn't know until someone else mentioned it casually, one of the nurses mentioned it casually, is that, like, he was born and I was just, like, so, it didn't feel real. It felt like I was in a dream. And I was like, am I not bonding with him? Like, I feel like everyone talks about how, like, intense, like, those first 24 hours are. And I was like, not that I was feeling numb, but I just, like, I felt like I was really drunk. And, like, I was in a dream. And, like, everything was, like, and, like, just not happening, really. And then one of the nurses was like, oh, it takes, like, 24 full hours for, like, all of the drugs that they gave you for the C-section to leave. And I was like, oh, which makes sense. Because the second day, I was just, like, sobbing because I was so obsessed with him and I love him so much. And I was like, it's dangerous how much I love this tiny thing. Yeah, the first, I would say, 5 days after the C-section were so rough.
Yeah.
Felix was wiping my butt for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting top surgery, so it was just funny because as that was happening, I was like, LOL, poor Morgan has to do this for me in, you know.
Yeah. In a few months.
In some months. That'll be fun and fresh. While there's a baby crying.
Yeah.
In this one, he was sleeping for the most part.
That's true.
While we were
he was pretty sleepy.
Me wiping your butt.
And then, like, they, like, showered me. I was like, I was a horse getting ready for a show. And they were the human.
Yeah.
Basically.
It was really hard because you were just like it was very clearly very painful even though you were on medication and we were really good about taking your medication on.
Yes.
It's
so hard to explain. It's different for everyone. What I would actually say is like where they cut me open on the outside didn't really hurt at all. And now it makes sense because I'm actually still numb.
Yes.
But I was like, this doesn't hurt at all. What hurt was something like inside.
Yeah. And
that's worse, I feel like, because you can't like put pressure on it. So what ended up happening that they give to all C-section patients is this like wrap.
It's like a binder.
Yeah, but for my midsection.
Yeah.
And so we used the crap out of that thing.
Yeah.
We still have it, I guess, in case I'm sure they'll give me another one for the second C-section. But like we would get it if I could get that as tight as I could, and then I would stick like an ice pack like inside of it.
Yeah.
It was like pretty bearable after the first like 2 days.
But it was like the standing up.
Yes.
It was like the transitional thing.
Going from sitting to standing or standing to sitting was horrible.
Yeah. It was.
But once I was sitting in the hospital bed, I was actually like mostly fine.
Yeah.
As long as I had like ice on me.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, that's just me. I don't know how it is for everyone.
Something we didn't know is that you still bleed a lot.
You still bleed so much.
I wasn't expecting that. I knew that like the placenta came out, obviously. Like we got that out of
it. And it makes sense when they explained it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can't believe no one's ever mentioned this. Because I always thought the reason you bled so much after vaginal birth was because like
of the things coming out.
Because of the things that came out that way.
Right.
And that is part of it. But also they were like, oh yeah, your uterus like was filled with blood.
Yeah, it has to contract back to a
and it
normal
has to go
size.
back to a normal size. And so all that blood has to go somewhere.
Which also sucks. So right after you've given birth, however that may be, when you're doing breastfeeding, it like makes your uterus contract.
Yes.
And it
Oh my
hurts
god,
like
I
a
forgot about that.
motherfucker. Yeah. So you were like,
Yeah.
and also it's like you're having, the baby, there's those things that are going on. And then also like pumping also made your uterus contract and made you feel uncomfortable. So they're like, here's this list of things that we need you to do every 2 hours on the dot. And we're like, okay. And most of them are painful for Morgan.
Yes.
Like
every like 2.5 to 3 hours I have to like breastfeed and then pump. And like thank God that I'm not a single person.
Yeah.
Or like that I have a very supportive partner, or that my partner didn't have to like work because they have a job that's not, we're just like really privileged.
Yeah, if you're a single parent if you're planning to be a single parent and you are planning on having a C-section, or you think that might be something that's going on for you, I would definitely make sure that you have a doula and a support person, whoever that may be in your life.
Yeah, I would say as many people as possible that can be on call to help you.
They let like us have visitors and like people, like we were in charge of like that.
There wasn't like a limit as long as they could fit in the room, basically.
Yeah, it was a pretty big room actually.
The first 2 days I was like, haha, how the fuck am I supposed to go home?
Right.
And then the last day, I was like, I can go. This is really painful, but I could definitely go home.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like every 2.5, 3 hours, you have to do all these things that are painful. That's going to take up like 45 minutes to do all those things. On the other 2 hours that don't have those things in them, they're checking your blood pressure. They're coming in to ask you questions. They're coming in to be like, okay, so just so you know, don't shake your baby. Don't scream at the baby if you can help it. Do you have a house? Do you have a bed for the baby? Where's the baby gonna sleep?
Yeah.
And they're just like interviewing you, and you're like, oh my god. So like,
it really like
the baby actually was normal and chill and fine.
Yeah.
It's all the other things that are happening.
It was also like everything was it was just so much of everything, and also the most bonkers thing that's ever happened to you has just
you're like high on
you've
endorphins.
had no sleep. I was not expecting. When you like go to Disneyland and you've had like 4 hours of sleep because you were like driving there the night before, and then you like wake up at 6 and you're like, ready for rope drop, bitch, let's fucking go. That's what it was like, but on like 2.5 hours of sleep, on like 5 hours of sleep each over the course of 48 hours.
Yes.
Like it was insane. And like I just didn't expect. I'd heard people were like, oh, parents are like the most tired, like new parents, the most tired people. So true. It's not that hard because you're just excited to be there. You know what I mean?
It is hard, but like it
is hard. It's not hard in the way that being tired is normally hard for me, where I'm like, no, I literally
because there
have
is
to lay
excitement
down,
added to it,
or I'll be evil. But it's like, I was so tired. I completely forgot about this. They have this bassinet. It's like a clear thingy, and it's got shelves underneath it. And it's this like, did we already talk about this?
It's got 2 shelves. I don't remember.
I think we talked about it on Patreon. Is what it is.
Yes.
But it's got these 2 like not shelves, drawers on it, and they come out on either side. Like if you pull it, like they both, and
it's a very smart design.
It's the same drawer, so it's like you can pull it from either side to get the stuff out of the drawer, is what it is. I was so deranged and so tired that Morgan was like, oh, we have to tell them that we need more diapers. And I was like, oh no, there's some on the other side. And so I walked.
Oh, look at them, like, the other side of what?
I walked to the other side of the bassinet, same drawer, open it up, and I literally, I'm like, there just was a bunch in here when I opened it from this side. Because I thought it was like 2 drawers. Like 4 drawers total.
Yeah.
It was so
But
funny.
It was 2 drawers that you could like
we were
pull either way.
Crying, we were laughing so hard.
The other thing is it hurts so much to laugh after the C-section.
Yeah.
So maybe marry someone not funny.
Yeah.
Because I was just being like,
stupid.
I was like, please stop making me laugh.
Yeah.
We had the cutest baby ever born. They told us so.
Yeah.
He'll be winning an award.
When we went on our little like walk around the
they're like,
was like, oh my god, what a beautiful baby. And then one of the times that we were doing our little walk, they had like people like touring the hospital, and Morgan was like, we're literally setting unrealistic examples for how beautiful people's babies are going to be, because none of their babies are going to be this cute.
None of their babies are going to be as cute as our baby.
And it's so funny because like now I look back at those pictures, and obviously like he just gets cuter and cuter, so I look and I'm like, oh, he was a little, and so beautiful, and I love him, but a little rough compared to.
That is not true.
Just a little bit.
No.
He was yellow.
Okay, he was a little yellow.
Yeah.
That was his fault, if you ask me.
And he was yellow, and he was very puffy at first because of the fluids from like the...
That's something I really didn't expect. Like, he was so chunky, but didn't weigh that much. And then...
He was skinny, but he was puffy.
Yeah, it turns out he was just yeah, he was just puffy
Yeah.
from all the fluids, and so was I. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we came home 3 days later. We stayed an extra day.
We stayed an extra day because our insurance was going to be free and we knew that, and then also because we needed it, truthfully, because the C-section recovery
I have no idea how people go
rough.
home 2 days later.
Know. And then also, any opportunity once per night shift, we had the girlies like watch him and hang out with him for like 3 hours so that we could sleep. And I think that was crucial. And some people feel bad and don't want to do that.
I did feel bad. I felt guilty.
Don't feel guilty.
Don't.
You need that sleep. And especially if you're coming home to a house where you're not going to have anybody who's able to do that for you for the first week anytime soon. And do it regardless, but definitely do it, especially if those are the circumstances.
Yeah.
Oh, when I was driving, I don't even remember. One of the nights that we stayed there, I went back to the house to like get more things, like different clothes or something. I don't remember. But anyway, I literally was driving. It was so dark out. It was like past 9 p.m. And as I'm driving on the road, blasting AC, blasting Chapel Roan, screaming the lyrics so that I'll stay awake. I'd had like 5 hours of sleep over the past 48 hours. Morgan and the baby were good. I think Mom was hanging out with them. Like, I don't remember what was going on. But as I was driving to our house, there's this like road and there's not a lot of street lights, but there's a lot of these like yellow like signs that are like there could be rocks that are falling, or there's like elk or whatever. And as I was driving past them in the rearview mirror, I kept on seeing these like red signs, and I was like, how is it that I see these signs and they're yellow, and then I get past them and they become red? Like, those signs have not been red on the back. So I literally was like, I'm entering an alternate dimension where there's like scary headlights behind me and I don't know what's going on and it's very scary. But I was like, I am awake and I'm looking at the road and I'm paying attention, but I was like, headlights is so scary. It was the reflection of
your brake lights.
Of my brake lights. That's all that it was. But I literally, that's how like, I've never been so tired while driving.
It is so...
I have never in my life.
I can't believe you drove.
I think it was not something I would ever do on purpose.
Not like, I can't believe you were so irresponsible. Like, I can't believe, like, you have to.
I felt that I could do it. And you have to know that there are some people who are driving like that, home from and to the hospital.
Yeah, always be careful when you're driving.
Oh my God.
The other best part, I don't know if you don't know this, now you're learning. I had talked on stream and several times about how I wanted to get everything done by 36 weeks. And my husband, the whole pregnancy, was like, he's going to come 2 weeks late. Da, da, da. And I was like, I just don't think he is. I think he's going to come early the whole time. So number one, I was right. Number two, specifically, I was like, you have to put the car seat base in because you're not going to want to do it when we're like rushing to the hospital because like I'm in labor. And Felix is like, we're not going to need it. We're not going to need it. I don't want to do it. It's so hot outside. So fair. And so they... come to the hospital after having put it in, and they were like, Dad had to help me.
It was bad. I also had so little sleep.
You had so little sleep.
It was so bad.
And also, it's like, it is confusing to put a car seat base in.
I didn't want to put it in because if we got in a car wreck in the like 3 weeks before, or like the month before, then you have to replace the whole car seat base and it's $40. And I was like, I'm not doing that. But yeah, it was not good. Put it in at 36 weeks or before even.
Yeah.
Drive careful.
Drive careful.
Do you want to talk about breastfeeding at all?
No, I'm ready to do some other stuff. I was going to make a different video.
We'll do a different video for breastfeeding.
Yeah, I think I would like to do a video that's like our favorite products 2 months in.
Oh, one other thing about the hospital though. Weirdly, they didn't have a lot of like great options for plus size underwear. Everybody's always like, what? They're like,
if you are fat and pregnant,
they're like, the net panties are giant. You can shove so many things in there. No, they were like a tight 22.
Yeah.
A stretchy size 20. Like, they were
What's
not good.
most interesting, this happened like with a couple different things. The first gown they gave me.
Yes.
Didn't fit. And the girlie who was helping me.
There's a lot of plus size nurses.
There's a lot of plus size nurses who I'm curious if they would fit in the standard gowns. I don't remember what was said specifically. One of the nurses that helped me said something like, I didn't want to assume you would need the big one. Because I guess maybe they're trying to not make other people feel bad. And maybe other people do feel that way.
Yeah, it's not a secret that you're fat, though.
Yes, I just always feel like it's better to give someone that's something too big.
Yeah.
Anyway, so...
Also, you can give them the too big one and be like, I just want to make sure you're comfortable. I hate when something's too tight on me. Because nobody wants to be in something that's too tight, especially when you're, like, going to be running around. And, like, the, like, larger size, you know, whatever was definitely, like, big on you. Yeah. Who cares?
No.
It's way better.
No, I could technically fit in the other one, but my little arms were, like, kind of cut off.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say if you are plus size, if you have any issues finding your size kind of anywhere,
Yeah.
I would go ahead and pack. We packed like
Diapers.
3X diapers.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
And then if you live in a smallish town, I would say maybe also buy like one of the like birthing gowns in a plus size. They did have them there in bigger sizes, so like I was fine. And they had several. Like it wasn't like I had the only one on the floor or anything. But like if I lived in a smaller town, maybe I would like bring my own.
Yeah.
I would say anything that you kind of can't like buy at a store because it like doesn't fit you, just bring it.
Also, we did a lot of wearing our slippers, like a lot.
A lot of wearing. Bring so many snacks.
Yeah.
People said bring
Oh my
snacks,
God.
and I'm glad we listened.
Yeah.
But even then, Felix still left twice to go get more snacks.
Yeah. Yeah. They had a little fridge there, which was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a good time.
I honestly, what I would say, like to summarize this entire thing.
Yeah.
I have no regrets about anything that happened. I feel very confident in having a C-section for my second kid. I feel like a lot of people fight really hard to have a vaginal birth because it's important to them, and I went in being like, what's important to me is how I feel in the moment, like honoring that.
Which is either of those are fine.
Yes, I don't think
Morgan just wants to clarify which one she was.
I'm saying like if you in your heart it's really important to you to have a vaginal birth, that is still
go off.
important to communicate, and
We
it
love that
doesn't
for
mean
you.
that you are doing anything wrong.
Yeah, and you have no interest in having a VBAC.
Right.
If you change your mind, that's also fine.
That's yeah. But I am not. I loved my C-section. The recovery, the first couple days was really hard, but like otherwise I was fine. And for the second one, maybe it'll be horrible, and I'll be like, I guess I just got lucky the first time. But yeah, there's like a video of me when we got to the house. I like have the car seat with the baby in it, and people were like, "Can't believe you're holding a car seat."
Morgan made me it was like, film me carrying the car seat in with the baby in it. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's just so funny because people were like, "Why couldn't Felix carry the car seat?"
To be fair, we had
Maybe.
800 bags of things.
Yeah, I was carrying much more heavy.
So I made you do that.
But also, I could have gone into. You know.
No, that's true.
Yeah, I think my things that I have to say are that I don't know. I have some feelings about like C-sections and epidurals and other things, and that people really want to avoid doing them, and that is completely fine. Whatever journey you want your birth to be, I love that for you. I think that in things that we've posted talking about how Morgan had as what we've been calling a surprise C-section, there are folks who have some baggage from doctors who they feel pushed them into doing something.
Which is so fair.
And that is so fair. It's fair that they feel that way. I'm sure that's what they experience. There are doctors that suck. That shouldn't be the case at all for anybody. I feel very confident in the medical team that we had. We're super, like, very listened. We got a whole bunch of compliments to Morgan specifically, one about how funny and cute she was, and then two about they're like, thank you for being so flexible. Like, this is so flexible for you, and it is also fine to not be flexible. Whatever, we don't care what you do with your birth story, but there just is like a little bit of this weird, like, doctors try to make you get C-sections, and C-sections are an invention of capitalism, and they're something that they're just trying to do because it's the easier thing to do. And no, I don't think that was the case for us.
I don't think it's
the case
easier.
somewhere. It's not. That was the other thing. It is incredibly, if any person becomes pregnant and then they stop being pregnant, there is almost no ways of no longer being pregnant that are not like incredibly punk rock. Like, it is really rough. I cannot imagine someone ever having a C-section or seeing someone recover from a C-section and being like, yeah, this is like the easier route than vaginal birth. Like,
and I'm not saying that vaginal birth's easier
no,
than C-section. Like,
it's just all,
none of it's easy.
it all just is so differently hard
Yeah.
in like lots of different ways. But yeah,
What I would like to maybe make a TikTok about also is like, I feel like before my personal experience, I knew so many people who had emergency C-sections and felt so stressed out and hated it, and like they all have very different stories that range from like they felt like the doctor pushed them to just like it was really important to them to have vaginal and like it wasn't possible. And I feel really grateful that like I don't feel like I fall on that spectrum. But I, like, the whole time I was pregnant with my therapist, with myself, I was like, we have to be flexible. Like, I would like to be flexible. I would like to enter this, like, not having any expectations. And I feel like, hopefully, that doing all that work is, like, what made everything go so smoothly. Because I was like, I'm trying to just control what I can, and there's so many things that you can't control.
Morgan did great. We just kept on getting like barely bad news was what it felt like.
Yeah.
And then once he got here, it's been like all totally fine news.
Yeah.
He had one problem. It was that he was wearing a little fancy double necklace.
Yeah.
He said accessorize.
He loves drama.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
So true. Hey.
Hi.
Somebody's partying really small.
Yeah.
With our Finding Nemo playmat.
Yeah, working hard.
Working so hard.
Thanks for watching this video. It's not really a vlog because like
the first part's a vlog and then it's like the rehashing of the vlog.
Yeah.
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 It's mostly rehashing.
Yeah. Just to be like incredibly clear about our boundaries on like how our content's gonna look from here on out, how we're gonna talk about things in the future. To have like a nice, concise frame of reference. We aren't planning on sharing Gonzo's real name, his name or his face, or really like any personal information about him. Every now and then people will message us and say like, hey, like, you know, I feel like I can see the baby's like ears a bit more than I normally can in your most recent post, like just so you know, which is very sweet of people to like look out for us and make sure that we didn't make a mistake. Like, we're not super concerned if you can see like one part of him, like if you can see like one single eyeball in like a photo that's mostly about like the grass on the ground behind him, or, you know, if you can like see his ear because he's like turned but not completely turned away, we're not super worried. What we don't want is like a bunch of those things happening at once in the same thing.
I don't know if you guys saw this conversation that Emily Ann had on TikTok, who's absolutely lovely. They do a lot of like Hunger Games content actually, but they were having a conversation about
that's okay.
About content creation and about like predators and about like family vloggers, and essentially like the analogy that was being used was like, if you go camping and you know that there's going to be bears in the area, it is irresponsible to not like lock up your food in like a bear like safe container, right? That is not the same as going out camping to like a national park and like creating a bear restaurant and being like, bears welcome here, this is where bears should be, which I feel is what unintentionally or otherwise, it just seems like it must be intentional, a lot of like family vloggers do. Like, we've all seen, right, like those like very stressful family vloggers who post videos and then you see like how many saves there are, and then like those people have turned off the comments, or they're posting videos of like children in their diapers and like children. So like that is like a level that we're trying to keep Gizmo safe on, is like the level of like literal scary predators, creepy people. That's one. That aspect of our sharing and not sharing of him on the internet has a lot to do with like not sharing bath time, not sharing like him sleeping, not sharing him in various states of undress or messy or eating things.
He's not really sharing him much at all.
Right. And I think also in addition to that, like being aware of those things, like, you know, not showing like him in a diaper, like those kinds of things. In addition to that, I think the fact that we keep his face covered and we are very like conscious of his like his existence within our content, that makes it just like so much less likely that a bear is going to be like, this is a place where I'm going to try to find things, if that makes sense. So every once in a while we get folks being like, just so you know you can see the baby's feet in this video. And that kind of thing I'm significantly less concerned about, because I just can't imagine within the full context of the things that we're posting that people are seeking us out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that makes sense?
I think it makes sense.
That's how I feel. His personal safety, not like the safety of like his image being used for stressful, nefarious purposes. Like him individually as a person and his like internet digital, you know, footprint. For that, we are obviously not showing his face and then not sharing his name. It is possible that we're gonna fuck this up. That is very possible and would make a lot of sense. And it's also possible that if we fuck something up, that we will drastically change the way in which we do things moving forward. This is like in motion at all times, because we're just trying to figure out the best way to be content creators who are keeping our baby safe at our job and also in real life. And I think that there's a reaction from a small group of people who are like, it's crazy to me that you're sharing so much content that has to do with your baby and that like your baby is involved in, considering you guys were so important to you to keep the baby like private from the internet. It doesn't make any sense because we're new parents to think that the kind of content that we're making, you wouldn't be able to tell that we're new parents, because we are lifestyle content creators. So like if that's not the kind of thing you're interested, that's totally okay. I'm sure those people aren't watching this video. And again, like, yeah, I don't know.
It's completely fine if people want to stop watching your content because you're like, I'm not interested in anything about parenting.
Yeah.
Because it will be parent focused.
I think the thing for me, as someone who didn't get to see content like this, it's really important to me that we make parenting content in a way that is safe for our kiddo and keeps like their privacy. Because I just didn't ever think that a family could look like this in the way that ours does. And so it's like very like special and sacred to me that like we be able to share this, one, so that people unfortunately are not like, so the people who could not picture this ever happening are not just like afraid of like queer and trans parents on one, and then on another level so that like the kids who are like I was at age 14 can like see this kind of content and be like, oh, that's crazy, that's an option that I have, you know what I mean? What the content will always be is us, like it's like videos of like Morgan talking to Gons about Twilight, right? Like it's not going to be about him even though he is in it. Does that make sense? So it'll never be about his medical information. It'll never be about things that he's doing. It may occasionally be like, oh, like we had posted on our Instagram the other day, like so excited, heard him giggle for the first time, that was crazy. Like anything that's kind of like normal and you would expect of like any baby or any child or any whatever is probably going to be ongoing. And also in this era, while he is like very cute sludge baby, not running around, not like speaking a whole bunch, we have to be attached to him constantly, and also like there's not much that he would be contributing to content, if that makes sense. Whereas like when, for instance, he's like a toddler and is like saying things and having conversations, like that's not necessarily, very often at least, the kind of content that we would be making. Yeah, be big,
this is boring.
Does that, sorry, I'm rambling so much.
No, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. If you see us in public, it's completely okay to come up and say hi, even if like the baby is visibly with us. Like that's totally cool.
As long as we all seem like we're in a good mood.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's possible that we're, you know, if somebody's having a meltdown or there's something going on, like maybe not at that moment. But yeah, if you see us, it's totally okay to say hi. You don't need to like avert your eyes and pretend that you don't see the baby. We will not tell you his name, most likely, but it is totally cool to come up to say hi. Please just don't touch him in the same way that like you wouldn't hug or touch an adult without asking. Right before he was born, there was a lot of people being like, is it okay to say hi to you guys once the baby's here? And like, yeah, absolutely. Like that's totally fine. Because again, what we're worried about is like digital footprint in terms of people being able to like Google and find him and be creepy or scary, or folks who are predators. So if you just like happen to go to the same grocery stores that we do because you live in an area that we do, or you're visiting or like whatever, I'm not worried about you at all. I don't, I know that like old people on Facebook think that there's a lot of like predators hiding in the halls in the aisles
of the
Trader Joe's and the Target, but that is like a moral panic and not something that's happening. So we're not stressed about that. Thanks so much for being here. We love and appreciate you so much. If you like this kind of content, you won't be seeing another vlog like this for another probably 2.5 years in terms of the content that's in it. We will be making like a talking about breastfeeding and pumping video. We're definitely gonna do like a baby items favorites video that will probably like break down by month, because I feel like there were some like newborn things that we were really into that like we don't use as much anymore, but were well worth it for the time that we spent using them. Yeah, and we just really appreciate you being here. If you have thoughts or feelings, let us know. If you want to like and subscribe, we would love that, but it feels cringy to say, so sorry about that.
We're taking YouTube seriously.
We're doing serious YouTube now. We've got an editor. Veronica didn't edit this one was me.
No, we've got another person on the team.
We do, and then Morgan's also going to start editing more, so hopefully you'll be seeing more vloggy type things coming from us moving forward. Yeah, thank you for being here. We appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.